time. It's time to talk about the elephant in the room, the elephant in our communities, the elephant in our country, this country, America. It's time. The conversation is being had, the debates are being made, the points, talking points, pundits, it's all being discussed, but I don't think that a lot of people understand, unless you've lived this experience of racism in America, what it really is. I want to share with some of you guys that are watching some of my experiences. And some of those experiences are things that have affected me as recently as just a couple months ago. I'm 39 years old. And I recently had a friendship that ended because of racism. Yeah, at my age, that happened. But before I start there, we'll talk about that. The recall might be fresh because it is, but I want to tell you that there hasn't been a single friendship in my life that has not been affected by racism. I want to be fair about that. And what I mean by that is people's spouses or people's families have always had an opinion. Even if someone of the aforementioned groups had an affinity, love, or care for me, there was always someone within that group that held me in disregard and was in opposition of relationships that I would have with their loved ones. It starts early when you are dealing with racism. We are now really familiar with the talk, right? The talk that gets had. We've seen people do it on Facebook and Instagram, and Good Morning America has had snippets lately in the last couple of weeks as our country has burned. There's a lot of debate about the appropriateness of the riots and the looting, the appropriateness of how to protest. The truth is, I don't know that there is any appropriate way to be disgusted when you're Black, because people are usually uncomfortable with that. Really uncomfortable with that. And what that goes back to is the fact that for so many years, our behaviors, and to this day, honestly, are dictated by what society deems appropriate when they've never really made a space for us here. The talk that I allude to is given by a parent about how to be in the world so you don't get killed. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I don't have anything fluffy to add to it. It's that. These are talks that are given to 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds and 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds and 11-year-olds, 15, 20, 30, 39, 50. We never stop having that talk. We never stop discussing ways that we might survive. It goes like this. When you're in a store, of course, your hands are behind your back, you march like a soldier, you touch nothing. Understand that if you have friends that are outside of your race, their parents more than likely will not like you. I used to think that my mom was racist. Can I be honest with you? And I think that I may have wanted to show her how kumbaya the world could be, but in this last devaluing that happened, so there was a few layers there in this friendship that ended. All of the things my mom said to me that I thought she was just paranoid about because she was an immigrant who is now an American. She is legal. She did her work. I'm a first generation American. not an anchor baby. I am an American. I am a West Indian American because I was raised that way. But my mother's paranoia, I never understood. She would tell me, these people, these white people are not your friends. That did not stop me from having white friends and boyfriends and girlfriends. It didn't stop me from having white best friends. It didn't stop me from having Puerto Rican best friends and Cuban and Asian and Peruvian. It didn't stop me, Black, American. It didn't stop me. I still explored. That is my nature, to understand what delighted me. But what I often found was my very presence was never a delight. It didn't matter how articulate I was, or well behaved, or intelligent. It didn't matter that I was in the AP classes and that I was as smart, if not smarter. In fact, that became a point of contention, and it showed its face in this most recent ending. My mother told me in order to be seen even as half as good, I'd have to be 3 times better. And I was. An overachiever, an overgiver, an over empath. That's part of me. It's part of my nature. So I'm not going to ignore that spiritual part, even though this is a conversation on race. And that, I think, is something that adds a bit of nuance, because me being able to perceive, feel, and hear the thoughts, I am clairaudient, I am clairsentient, of the Caucasian friends and parents. Let's just say it was a painful existence. It was painful. But it's only now that we are being given voice to the pain. When Colin Kaepernick knelt, there was an outrage. At the time, I had a radio show and I had conversations with my station manager. He was conservative and Republican, and he was running a conservative radio. And I was doing studio time, renting studio time to put out Evolve with Monette, which is linked in a side channel here if you're interested to hear some of that work. There were many times that I was not able to escape the studio without him dressing me down about how things should be. I think he liked me. I think he did like me, but what I know is that he didn't like my free thinking. He didn't like my opinions. He didn't necessarily, especially if I got political, he would always try to, this is when Trump was being elected, let me know it's not as bad as you think, we just need to give him a chance. And I said, but I am looking into his heart. I'm not just looking into, is this man politically astute? I'm evaluating him specifically against the last president. That last president was a Black man. I'm just going to tell the truth and shame the devil, was he not? Facts are facts. And there was a feud that brewed, even though I don't think Obama participated, there was a feud that was brooding on Trump's side. There was not a lot of explanation for his disdain, but anybody Black watching knew exactly what it was about. If you're offended, you're about to be offended. It was because he was Black and he was excellent, period. I don't care about if you disagree with what he did or didn't do. I'm talking about the measure of a man, right? And this ties into this racism. Steve Bannon gave an interview as he was part of the presidency in the beginning years. And he said, I hate Obama. I hate him completely, and I disagree with him politically. But what I will say is that he was incorruptible. Steve Bannon said, I don't know who that is, we tried to get him off his game. We tried to test his integrity. We tried to tempt him. We sent prostitutes. And he started to list the various ways, drugs, whatever. We did anything because we wanted to get him in a scandal. This is an interview he gave on TV. And he said, I can't say too much about that man except he is integral. He never once took the bait, because that's a luxury that Black people cannot afford. We can't take the bait. We have to be upstanding. We have to be measured. We have to be thoughtful. We have to be all of those things in the face of such atrocious injustices. We just saw what happened. The reason our country is burning because we just saw a barbarian murder someone with his hands in his pocket, with bystanders pleading for his life, with the man pleading for his life. We heard George Floyd say his name, cry out for his mother, and as an empath who sometimes has people's mothers and family members come through, he was seeing her because she came to get her son. She came to get her son. I know that spiritually for a fact. I'm not going to debate it with you in the comments. I know my work. And when I saw that part, yeah, the video, yes, the whole thing, but the energy of knowing he knew he was dying and she knew it too. You get a talk so that you don't end up in a situation like that, but those talks apparently are not full or foolproof. Those talks don't really keep you safe because there are micro and macro aggressions. The knee is always on your neck. It's not just in that way, in that capacity, that murder that we watch, that public lynching. The knee is on your neck from the time you're a child, and I'll tell you some of my experiences. Having friends in high school and younger, being on swim team and people getting out of the pool because they thought that I was contaminating it. Being a cheerleader who was, yes, y'all, big girls cheerlead too. I was always a big girl, but I was always very ambitious because my mom told me I had to be 2 to 3 times better to even be seen as half as good. And so instead of getting captain, I got co-captain, but that's okay. I'm not hating on that. But what I want you to understand about that is I was the black face in the middle of all of these white girls, and they were so incredibly mean to me. If today existed then and there was Twitter, I could get them fired from middle school or get them fired from 5th grade. But that didn't happen. There was no recourse. You just absorbed all of this rejection. You absorbed all of the hate. You absorbed all of the negativity. And that's kids. Kids are mean. Okay, we'll leave that there. But the greatest treachery that I suffered was at the hands of the parents. Their kids fully immersed in drug use, introducing me to drugs. But it was always me who was conveniently the villain. It was fascinating to me. I'd be like, I don't even really know what this is. I was very sheltered in my own way. I remember a mother having an inappropriate evening of fun with me and her daughter, and she was serving us shots. We were 14, maybe 13 or 14. Shot after shot, 2-finger shots. That's when I learned about shots, tequila. And her true colors slipped out after a few shots, and she slapped me across the face and told me that I was a black bitch repeatedly. I hadn't really done anything. I was just there having this weird experience with this adult who decided to take out her anger. Her wife was racist openly and hated me, but I loved my friend because as kids you love your friends, and I didn't understand this is just the way people treat you when you're black. That is it. A few years later in high school, having a best friend who was British, and his mother was a real estate agent, and one day he showed up at my townhouse where I lived, the apartment, and he said, I have to talk to you. My mom, we're 16. My mom says we can't be friends because you driving around in the car, because we were small town, all we did was ride. You know how that goes in small towns. You driving around in the car with me and me being seen with you all the time, she says it's affecting her business. She says it's affecting her business, so we can't be friends. Other friends would notice other friendships I had, and the question these Caucasian friends always asked was, what makes Monette so special? Why do people like her? Why do they want to be around her? They would try to undermine my friendships, these microaggressions all the time, making fun of everything from my hair to, you imagine, it's kids, but it was the parents. Being an active part of my church meant that I went to Sunday school, and there was a World War II vet who had a lot of love for the kids, and he taught some Sunday school classes. He was a Caucasian man, a very nice man, Mr. Burns. Mr. Burns. And one day he was teaching a lesson, and he bought in these coins that he had. And the coins were from Germany and all over the place in his travels in the military. And he shared a handful of coins. He let us pick out, and they were neat coins and coins with holes and things I had never seen. And I had them in a little like jewelry bag, and I was 14, 15, Sunday school, 14, 15, and maybe 14. And I had a friend, and my friend's dad was completely, supremely racist in every way, not just against Black people, Spanish people, Puerto Rican people, which was a great irony. But I remember having them at my friend's house, and he saw them because I had them sitting on the coffee table. There had been a coin heist in our town, which I had zero idea of. There was no internet. We all had beepers. I was not in the know. He silently, quietly tipped off the police, saying that I had been the thief. And these coins were stolen from like a jewelry store, and it was like a high level operation. And of course I was vindicated, but not before I was traumatized. And it was a whole thing. I mean, he was sure that I had I had maybe 7 coins from Mr. Burns, okay? I can laugh about that now, but being a kid and wondering if I'm going to jail and having any kind of suspicion that I pulled off a coin heist without a driver's license, without an idea even of the value of the coins in my hand, let alone that was stolen. It was a Caucasian man that pulled off the heist. Totally vindicated, never apologized. That was my reality. Years later, I found myself in the arms of a cult and in the arms of a lover whose father was the head of the KKK in their town. Now, I talked about this in a Harry and Meghan video, and I had a lot of Black women saying how self-hating I was. And I thought, you guys don't know my life. No, I didn't say, I choose you, and oh, by the way, is your dad the head of the KKK? Is he the grand wizard of the local chapter? No. I was in a situation where I fell in love with someone, and that caused a bunch of drama, and my mother to reject me. I am bisexual, and when she found that out, that was a no bueno, okay? And she disowned me, and I had no place to go. So the person that I was with was like, well, you can come here. And it wasn't until I was at her house for maybe a week that she, and her dad and mom were divorced, that she said to me, my dad can't know you're here. You have to hide. Now, all those Black women that told me what a piece of crap I was because I was self-hating, because I didn't support Meghan's narcissism, which is there, I will not be debating that today. But I know what that is, to be hidden in plain sight. It's something that's happened throughout all of my relationships. These white people that did love me or were in love with me, each in their own weird ways, always wanted me to be a secret because of their own true and real internalized and externalized racism. It affected my jobs. It affected the way that people talk to me. Who do you think you are? People wanted to tear me down. And that's what my mom meant by you have to work harder. And when she said to me, white people are dangerous, I thought, how ignorant, how ridiculous. Well, she was speaking from her experience being a black woman working in a corporate job at a hospital and being passed over for promotion over and over and over again, even though she was qualified, on time, never truant, amazing, excellent. In her country, she was a police officer and she was going to be a lawyer. Here, she was reduced to menial secretarial work, and she excelled even in that. But she never got her just due. Still works for the same hospital system 40 years later. Still not getting her just due. So that's how she preached to me from her experience of having people that are unkind to you for no reason. When bosses talk down to me, once I asked for a raise and I had a boss tell me, even though my job was to help people with the credit bureau, she told me, you should show up early, wash windows, turn on the lights, be here before Ken, her husband, and fellow crook in arms, be here early. And she said, women, and especially women like you, whatever that meant, don't ask for raises. You just work and turn on the lights and wash windows, though I was not a janitor. That's what a micro and a macro aggression is like. People wanting to touch your hair. People saying, I wouldn't want anyone that I love to be friends with someone like you. What was I like? What was bad about me besides the color of my skin? When I found myself in that situation where my girlfriend at the time told me I had to hide, I did have to hide. Her mother let me into the house, and yes, they were divorced, but Ronnie was still ruling the roost in his own way. I remember us once having a breakdown in our car. I was going to get my nails done, and our car broke down, and she had her brother with us, and they had to call her dad with his truck to come get us. And he let off a stream of curses and let her know how he was not going to be seen riding with the, you know what he said, the N-word. And she said, did he? She was real southern country. If you don't bring her home, we're staying right here. And so she put up a protest, and so did her brother. And he said, absolutely not. We sat there for hours having a standoff, and finally he said, she has to ride in the back. So they climbed in the back. They climbed in the back with me to show solidarity. He said when we go through the town, because he was very well known in his town, she needs to hide under a tarp. That is not about being self-hating. That's about being in a terrible situation. But, when life for Black people is a lot of those terrible situations, can you imagine your daughter or anybody that you loved being told, just hide? I'm too embarrassed that I've even offered you a ride, even though it wasn't offered and even though it wasn't easy. Just hide. You get used to it. That's what I want you to know. If you're white or any other color watching, you get used to being treated like that. And you think, well, this is just what you have to do to survive. So when you see people burning shit down, it's not right, it's not okay, but they're just so frustrated because there's no real justice for people that look like me. I have allies and friends, and in the last few weeks, I've had people that are Caucasian call me and say, are you okay? Because they know I'm an empath and they know that I'm watching this and that I will cry for days. And I have, about watching people be murdered on live TV for sport. Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna, George. too many to count. I have walked up on situations with relatives with cops' knees in their back, not on their neck, and if I wasn't perfectly calm and perfectly measured and perfectly articulate, they were never going to pull the ID that was always in his back pocket out. He was mowing the lawn, he was in a nice neighborhood, and someone was scared because he looked like me, and they called the cops, and they didn't do their job. They had him down, his face pressed to the asphalt and the gravel. And it was on me to not have a shred of emotion to talk them off the ledge. That's what it's like to be Black in America. When we got into the car after I did some of the fastest talking of my life, this grown man and I sobbed. We didn't say a word. That's the PTSD of being Black in America, because I knew he could have been George Floyd. Every Black man and Black woman knows that we could all be George Floyd. And the onus is on us to be responsible, but never on anybody else. And not just police, I'm talking about everybody that feels that they have a right to become a Karen. They have a right to tell us how to exist. Those are just some of my experiences. And they were traumatizing, and I thought I had gotten past a lot of them. But I had one recently, and that's the one that really shook me because I'm 39. I thought I had gotten past them. Well, like I said, wonderful people, allies, protesters that are out there fighting the good fight and asking me, how can I be an ally? What should I do? And sharing with me stories. One tonight that triggered this video about a guy named Roy. And I'll see if I can find the article and link it. But it talks about how this guy, Roy, was the only Black person in his friend group, and they all treated him like crap. And he looks back on it now and knows that they acted like they were so much better, and they were doing him a favor, and he was expected to fully exist and live in their white spaces, but they would only go to his Black space, if they had to, and it was like a favor to him. That triggered me because the last relationship, a 20-year friendship that I swore I had figured right, gosh, I had figured wrong. One of the things she said to me in a moment of calculated devaluing that she'd probably planned for a long time, because she felt very threatened by me being excellent. And what she didn't understand is we're all working through our family pathology. My excellence comes from that talk when you're 5. I'm not excellent because it's easy. I'm not excellent because I am just that magical. It's because I didn't have a choice. Really, in order to be seen or taken seriously, I had to excel. That is what we as Black people are taught. She was threatened by my excelling, even though I wanted to bring her with me, even though I loved her, was transmuting energy. And she was white, and she lived in a small southern town, and she fancied herself a rebel. She was not. Maybe she is a rebel in the Confederate flag sense, but she was not. She fancied herself different, but she was not. She fancied herself brave, but she is not. And she said something to me about, I'm just doing this to be nice to you. We're 39. She started talking about how this other person was better than me, and I was looking the way that we looked as Black people between Trump and Barack and Mr. Obama, and we thought, what's the comparison? What are you talking about? The comparison was the friend that she found, and she told me, this is the best friend I have ever had. This is 20 years I sewed into this person. But what I realized is that she was better because she was white. It was real simple. She told me in some more cruelly valuing, there's a lot of layers to this, but let's talk about the racist part. She told me about how this girl was jealous of our friendship. Now, that's an experience I've had a million times. Remember, I said a lot of white friends would ask their other white friends, well, why do you like her so much? I don't get it. What is it about? I have one person specifically, ooh, I will not say her name, but yeah. In any case, fast forward, she started talking to me about how she never wanted our friendship and she would have never fought for our friendship, and if it wasn't for me like having a friendship with her and pursuing that she wouldn't want it. And I said to her, why are you saying this wild ass shit to me? Excuse my language, but why are you saying this to me? This is so just mean and inappropriate. And it's something that my mom taught me. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. What was happening was that her white friend, oh, it was just like high school, it was just like middle school, it was just like elementary school. Why is Monette here? When I was in Girl Scouts for 9 years with a troop that was all white, why is Monette here? The way they treated me, black women, black men, you know this experience. You know it. You know I'm telling the truth. She's at her desk with her lover, her work wife and lover, all one and the same. But this person wanted what she thought was my position, which was just a best friend, truly. And she was threatened and intimidated by that. I knew that the girl was racist. I had premonitions and I had discussed it with her. And my friend thought she was a rebel because she enjoyed black men. Now, this was a big lesson for me as a big lesson for me. I was her fetish, okay? But black men were her fetish. But here's what never could happen. Never in the light of day. People knew about me as her friend. They couldn't know about her fetishizing me, which I never indulged in. And they couldn't know about her lovers. And I said to her, do you talk to Tinsley about your lovers that you have that are black men that you love? And she said, shuddered and shook, and she was like, no, I can't talk to her about that. She just shuts down. Why do you think she shuts down? Because she's racist. And I'm not going to be debating with you guys about it, but I'm just saying it was clear. She had a Bubba husband. Yes, that's her lover, but her lover had a husband. That's another story in another video. We'll talk about it. But it's because she was racist. And this racist boa constrictor did what all of these white people had done in my life, even though I still loved and tried to be friends with them, which was snake my ass, because she thought, why does this fill in the blank and add a couple more extras get to have this? Why are they friends? Why? What's so special about her? Why does she like her so much? So my friend, in her weakness, began to devalue me to her. And it was as simple for that girl as, I don't like this black girl because they grew up in Alabama. And so that Martin Luther King couldn't even make a difference in Alabama, not even Martin Luther King. And I saw, because of my gift, unfortunately, the dynamics that Tinsley had had with other black girls as she grew up, and how she never had liked it, and just a lot of other things, and some deep, dark stuff. And my angels were protecting me, and they said, you better run from Jodi Arias and Betty Broderick. These two girls are plotting, and they're murderous, and they're enraged, and this one specifically doesn't believe you should exist and wouldn't think twice about lynching you. Not even twice. And I was disgusted that this girl I had called my friend had walked herself into it. I knew that her parents were racist, loved Fox News, hated anybody black excelling, like they hated anybody black that was doing well. They could find a problem with that. I had figured out how to maneuver in this kind of energy all my life. We don't have a choice. It's not about being self-hating. It's about surviving. If you don't understand that now and you're watching, it is about surviving. And so as I was there this last time, I thought, I have to get out. When she said, I'm just doing this to be nice to you, she was trying to set me up. And I saw black men in prisons that were put there. I saw Emmett Till. I saw in this person that I thought was my friend, and I thought maybe just was misguided. I don't know what I saw, because when you love somebody, you're blind. You don't really see. But what I saw was that she was just as racist and just as low vibrational as everybody else. And she essentially decided that this white girl was just better because she was white. That's it. That's all. So that's me at 39, having a 20-year friendship end because someone couldn't stand up to their community because it was very easy. And instead of saying I've treated Monette like crap, or I've been weird with her, inappropriate, or I've done a lot of the things that are not part of this video, what she did was what white people that are cowards do. And she leaned into her lowest vibrational self, and she allowed them to think I was the villain. I knew the movie. I'd been in the movie. I played the part. I'd started in that movie too many times for comfort. So when everyone's crap talking and doing all the things that happen in the end of any relationship, she just quietly sat there and was complicit as they said words and said things that I'm sure even surprised her. But she was just like them, a coward. She can never take her black men around her family or her friends, and having me became too heavy of a weight. At 39, a friendship ends because of an undercurrent so strong of racism. I would like to say that I hope I don't have more stories like this to tell you. And I would like to say I haven't even scratched the surface because we only have so much time. But what you need to know is that that's what being black in America is like, having someone say, I'm just doing this to be nice to you because just my Caucasian energy investing into you is a favor. It's a favor. Yes, we can say she's a sociopath. There's a lot of things I can say and will be saying about that to break down some other aspects, but that was the one that it crushed me. A new friend's better because she's white. I'm 39. Guys, these things don't end. I'm not shedding tears over that. I have emotionally just been, it just blistered me. So, I'm really actually trying not to cuss her out right now in my spirit and in my energy. But what I will tell you is that's what it's like. There's a million micro and macro aggressions. The movie Get Out is so accurate. It is stuff that happens all the time. In fact, that's why it was so popular, because black people everywhere were like, yeah, oh yeah, that and that and that and that and this and this and this. It's all highly plausible. If you don't have anybody black in your life, you got to figure it out. You got to befriend somebody. You got to ask a question. If you're white and you're watching and you want to ask me a question, leave it in the comment below. I'm going to answer. I don't have any solutions for this, but what I have is insight and experience. Doesn't matter where you're from, if you're first generation, if you're actually from Africa, if you're from England, if you're from here, if you're Geechee, or if you're Haitian, if you're Barbadian, Trinidadian, if you are this color in this country, you know what I've just said is true. That is something that if you're white, these things are things you'll never experience. So they're things you'll never have to walk through. That's what white privilege is. It's not people attacking white people. It's saying that when you live absent of treatment that's terrible, of boyfriends and husbands that think that it's funny to tell you jokes with the N-word in it, and to tell you, I didn't like you at all and I didn't trust you at all. Well, why is that? Well, you're different and I had to get to know because you're kind. These are conversations that I've just had to sit and nod through, because you can't lash out because then you're angry. To be gaslit by bosses and other co-workers that can have full meltdowns like Karen. We're all watching Karen on Twitter, the Karens of the world. But if you have a reaction, you're angry and whatever. And that is so pervasive. It's every day. And it's something that I wish would go away, but it's not. And so we have to talk about it. So ask me a question if you have a question. You will never understand until you talk to someone that is of color, whatever the color of the rainbow is. Spanish people are discriminated against. Hispanic people, indigenous people are discriminated against. The list goes on and on. But when you're black, there does seem to be a heavier penalty and a deeper bloodlust for our energy. People are mean. What happened to George Floyd and what has happened to so many people like him? Black bodies swinging in the trees in California just right now in the last couple weeks. Strange fruit. It's a heavy weight. So when you see stuff burning, watch Trevor Noah expertly explain how the contract is broken. Or listen to this video, or listen to any Black person or brown person who can't exist without someone being offended or without them being devalued and not seen as human. We are human and we just want to exist. We just want to exist. We deserve to exist, and we are existing. It doesn't matter. You can't kill us all. But damn it seems like you're trying. And that's not to you watching. That is to barbarians like that police officer. Where is your humanity? And I answer my own question. It doesn't exist because so many people don't see us just as human as they are. It has to change. It's time to evolve together.